Really quick, before we get into today's video, I want to address that this history of video is a little different. As a lot of you guys know, what I'll normally do is put a poll on my community tab, and the character who wins is normally who the history of video is about. However, Annie and Clarabel have lost almost every single poll, and honestly I don't think that's very fair. Seeing as we've talked about Thomas and close to all of his original friends, I think it's only right we talk about his coaches as well. That, and it's a beautiful segue into rolling stock. So instead of shaming them again, I decided I would just go ahead and make the video. I honestly find the history of Annie and Clarabel to be very fascinating, and I'm sure you guys will as well, as it's not necessarily the same old story. The Great Discovery Thomas review is one that I'm still working on and plan to do. However, I don't have the whole set, I only have Thomas, Annie, and Clarabel, and there's not really a lot to say, at least right now, so I may end up taking a little bit longer with that review, but it will still be coming. With any luck, I'll be able to at least get the troublesome trucks that the set came with as well. I guess we'll see when that video comes out. But now that we've talked about all of that, let's go ahead and get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the history of Annie and Clarabel. So before we talk about one of the many TV show models, I figured we should talk about Audrey's models of Annie and Clarabel. The coach that was to be the basis for Annie was actually built by a teenage Wilbert Audrey as a part of his old model railway layout. Many years later, after a long hiatus from modeling, a brake coach was built to match so the Reverend's Thomas model would have a complete train. He also would name the coach Clarabel. Both of these models are now preserved at the Narrow Gauge Museum in Wales, located near the Tallyclyn Railway. In terms of the television series, Clarabel would cameo in the series premiere, but neither she nor Annie would properly be introduced until the first series episode, Thomas and the Breakdown Train, making several appearances since. The two would constantly be portrayed as faithful to Thomas, but prone to complaining from time to time, either from Thomas's behavior or other factors. In more recent years, the two would rarely see any speaking roles between seasons 8 and 16, but since Blue Mountain Mystery, they've become series regulars and now speak in many episodes.
Look at that big hat! It won't fit through my doorway.
So now let's get into their Gauge 1 models. Annie and Clarabel were made from a 10-mile kit, that being 10 miles Gauge 1 Stroudley first and second composite coach, with each having custom roofs and vacuum-formed ends. For the production of the 5th season episode Sir Topham Hatt's Holiday, resin copies of Annie and Clarabel were both made. Annie and Clarabel would stay mostly consistent. However, in the Clearwater Features era, Annie has her front buffer beam lowered to match Thomas's low buffers. In the 3rd season, however, it was raised to the same position as her rear one and Clarabel's. However, many promotional arts still remain low position. We also see Annie and Clarabel in James and the Coaches, the Season 1 episode, where the two are reused for Orange Branch Line coaches. We can also find in the Season 1 episode Thomas's Christmas Party that Clarabel has been fitted with red cheeks to indicate that she's been cold. In the Season 3 episode Thomas Gets Bumped, Annie is seen with open doors. This was reproduced by bonding doors to the side. In addition, the two would also feature interior lighting. This was powered by a series of hidden battery packs inside of the coaches themselves. We also see in the 10th season episode Thomas and the Shooting Star that Clarabel has a tail lamp. Much like how others are done, this is powered by a hidden battery pack. Though the two have stayed mostly consistent, Annie and Clarabel did go through some modifications in the model era. This includes in Season 3, when Annie's front buffer beam was raised to the same position as her rear one, like stated earlier, and in Season 5, when they became significantly weathered due to their models being in poor shape. However, in Sir Topham Hatt's Holiday, they were repainted, lost their weathering, they received gray roofs, and their buffer shank housings became red. During the production of Season 12, new faces were proposed for Annie and Clarabel. These faces would have been much more like troublesome trucks, being gray and rectangular, but they decided to opt out of doing this, and thank God. Currently, Annie and Clarabel's resin models are now on display at the Hara Model Railway Museum. Previously, they were on display at Nitrogen Studios. In 2019, a replica prop was made by Cool Props in Japan and sold to the public. They would actually use the original models at Hara for their referencing. And yes, you can buy these and the Thomas, but be prepared to pay quite a bit. I think they're like right under $1,000. So your boy's gonna stick with HO scale. Gauge 3 models of Annie and Clarabel were built in the 11th season, these to be used alongside the large-scale models of the Skarloey Railway engines, which have been used since the 5th season. The models would only appear in the episode Duncan Does It All. And you probably guessed, Annie and Clarabel did have a close-up model built. However, the same model was used for both coaches. The first model was short, but in Season 8, a complete model was made, with Annie's name written on one side and Clarabel's name on the other. Annie and Clarabel's close-up model was used in the 1st, 3rd, 4th, 6th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th season, as well as Calling All Engines. Now, as everybody knows, in 2009 the show had introduced CGI, and much like the other models, photographs of Annie and Clarabel's Gauge 1 models were used for referencing. For the most part, Annie and Clarabel haven't really changed much. However, during CGI they have gone through some slight modifications. These include in Hero of the Rails, they increased in length and height, with the tops of Annie's end windows becoming slightly curved inwards while Clarabel's remained straight. In Season 13, Annie and Clarabel's eyelashes disappeared. In Season 14, some episodes would feature their eyelashes back, note some episodes, and in Season 15, scene, their eyelashes fully returned. I guess the animators were forgetful. And while that unfortunately wraps up their model history, there is a little bit more to talk about, especially in terms of Clarabel. Clarabel is supposed to have a break compartment for luggage and a guard, unlike Annie, but many merchandise items actually have Clarabel sharing the same mold as Annie, so her guard compartment is completely omitted. This is also seen in several promo arts and CGI promos. Also, even if Clarabel has a guard compartment, it was sometimes on the front, or opposite her face by mistake. This likely was caused by confusion from the views of Clarabel being coupled the wrong way. And that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up the history of Annie and Clarabel, or at least their models. If there's any other characters you guys would like to see, be sure to comment down below, as following this video, I'll likely be going back to the normal, poll strategy to figure out who to make next, but hopefully even without that, you guys still enjoyed figuring out the history of Annie and Clarabel. If you guys did, be sure to like and subscribe for even more Train content. There's always more stuff on the way, and as always, thank you guys again for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one.